How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Today we're talking about Ethereum. What's the need for Ethereum? What does it do? What's the future of it? Why is it necessary? I'm going to try to break down as much information as I can for anybody out there that is a current investor that wants to learn more about it, or if you're brand new to the crypto sphere, a lot of people are. They want to follow the money, they want to follow the technology. This is the video for you. Stay tuned. I'm going to break it down for you as much as I can. Enjoy. So our story begins with Bitcoin. I know what you're thinking. I'm throwing you off. I'm just coming out here to talk about Bitcoin. I'm one of those people. No. Because to know about Ethereum, you must know about the Bitcoin. So let's start here. In 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto, during the financial collapse, as you all know, around the housing market, during the subprime loans or in subprime mortgages, and how they all grouped together and how it led to the collapse. I'm not going to go too far into that. I have other videos on it if you want to check it out. But he came up with the idea of Bitcoin and in that sense, blockchain also, which go hand in hand. So that slowly in time turned into Ethereum. So Ethereum came to be around 2013. Vitalik Buterin, who is, as you can think of him as the spearhead of Ethereum. He was the original creator of it, and then of course people formed around him. But he worked for Bitcoin Magazine at the time, and he had a goal of building decentralized applications. He saw what Bitcoin did for payments worldwide, remittances, for basically taking the middleman out of the picture, and he wanted to do the same thing. And he said, we need to change Bitcoin core around to somehow be able to incorporate my idea. Well, it didn't work out, so he came up with the idea of Ethereum. And Ethereum itself is a world computer. And what do I necessarily mean about world computer? Well, technically, how Wikipedia states Ethereum, and I'll read it to you, is it is an open source public blockchain based distributed computing platform and operating system featuring smart contract scripting functionality. It supports a modified version of Nakamoto's consensus via transaction-based state transitions. Okay, so what they mean by that is it uses the blockchain, and you have miners the same way that Bitcoin does. But what it creates is this, like I said, world computer, and this system that allows for applications to be built on top of it on its language, which goes around, it's C++ originally, but the main one that people use to build on top of it is called Solidity. But they wanted to incorporate smart contracts to make these applications and to basically take any other idea that a person has, be able to use it on one specific blockchain. So you can have hundreds or thousands of different, projects or applications run on the Ethereum network, and it can, everybody can converge onto one central idea, and this world computer can run it. Quick recap of what we had just talked about. Initially, there was Bitcoin, which ushered in the era of the blockchain. As it was building in around 2013, Vitalik said, hey, let's incorporate some of my ideas into Bitcoin. That didn't work. That didn't happen. He created Ethereum afterwards. Ethereum slowly but surely became a decentralized world computer running on blockchain, and that people mine very similar to Bitcoin. Okay, and arrange smart contracts on top of it with a language that can be incorporated through the Ethereum virtual machine, which we'll get to even more in a second. So what is the need for Ethereum? From the financial crash, we saw the need for Bitcoin. It is a deflationary currency. Only so much will be built. You can send it back and forth anywhere in the world. So stuff like that. And then you're thinking about, how is Ethereum necessary? Well, Vitalik, he saw the flaws in a lot of our structures, that Bitcoin helped. So he said, we can do something very similar with Ethereum. So something I would explain to most people is, let's say you have, you're taxing. You're not taxing, but your taxes that you have to do every single year. You give away a lot of your information to a company that files them for you, that has all your private data, your information, or let's say you have medical records that you want to keep safe and that you give to a doctor and they have basically everything that's ever happened to you, especially if you had one primary care doctor your entire life. So what Ethereum does for that is it takes out a lot of the guessing that you have to do. It incorporates the idea of cryptography and a distributed system. So there's not one central point of attack for somebody to hack into that system and find out more about you. Data in the communication age is worth it is like a gold. Okay, so your own personal data is used by Facebook, by all these other companies, all these intermediaries, and it's let out loose. I mean, just phone numbers. You've probably gotten a call from somebody at in Oklahoma. Sorry to everybody that's out there in Oklahoma, but they're trying to sell you something. You're like, how'd they get my number? And it's because your information is not protected. Okay, and so what Ethereum does is it can protect that. And what a lot of these programs and not even contracts and decentralized applications are doing is they're protecting a lot of that information. In essence, what Ethereum does is very similar to Bitcoin in an ideological sense. It takes away power from the third parties, the big companies that we deal with, like Facebook, Google, you name it. You know about the Equifax hacks and everything else like that. So what it does is it gives you back the power of your data and gives you back the power of having information be private about yourself. That's just only one of the large ideas of it. But let's say just giving out your tax information, kind of like I said with Equifax, if it came to Ethereum, there's ways where you can even talk to these third-party organizations, or let's say it's an application that's used within the Ethereum network, and you can communicate with them, how much you make, your social security number, all this stuff, and it can be verified through a system and even go through third-party organizations without them actually ever seeing your information in the first place. Mind blown. So what exactly is the difference? Well, let's say we have Google. Google has a large, let's say, warehouse of servers that has, like I said, it's a central point of attack in terms of hacking. But if that goes down, then the whole system is down. What Ethereum does is it makes the entire world and everybody that wants to volunteer to be a part of the system its own point of computing and holder of information. So everybody has this distributed ledger system, kind of like blockchain, but it's actually a way to keep the data. So everybody has there's these nodes that are accessed from all around the world, and they verify whenever something happens on the blockchain in the Ethereum network. And what that necessarily does is it takes away power from these large organizations and gives it back to you. So a lot of what Ethereum is about is being able to make your own decisions, hold your own data, be able to work with whatever application you'd want to. So for instance, when it comes to Google, you look at the Google App Store, they only choose what you see. And the companies that work with Google, they have to run by their rules and they have to do things in their own way. So it's like a certain entity has so much control over your life and how you interact with the entire world that it might make some people uncomfortable, especially somebody like Vitalik. So you're wondering probably, how do you get rid of the middlemen? Well, it is in the form of smart contracts. As of right now, smart contracts, in my opinion, are kind of in their infancy, along with everything in the blockchain environment and world. So what a smart contract is like a basic set of rules that's written in code. And it's written, of course, on the Ethereum network. So let's say your smart contract says you have to log into a certain application every day. And once you've logged in 10 days in a row, the contract hits and you're rewarded with something. Okay? That's a very simple one to say. Or let's say it's like a vending machine. Vending machine, you put in a quarter. Quarter's not enough. The thing you want to get is $1. You put another quarter, nothing happens. Another one, nothing happens. Finally, you put in the fourth quarter, $1, and you fill that smart contract, and then it is the processing starts, and out comes whatever you wanted to buy. Let's say it was a soda. So you could think of a smart contract like that. It helps facilitate things to not have anybody else say, okay, right now is the right time to do it. In banking, you have, let's say a teller would be a analogous form of a smart contract. Somebody that make sure this is how it's facilitated, this is what they have to do, instead of having just a rule system and whenever one party does this, another party does that, and they meet in the middle, and then the contract is filled. Okay, so like in the form of a bank, they have to verify the transaction. They are the trust system, and they are the people that facilitate everything. They are the middleman. Smart contracts take that middleman completely out. The thing about smart contracts is the extent of what they can be is only as far as the limitations that you allow it as a developer of that smart contract. So let's say you want to code it past a very, very primal version of itself. So the first layer being like what I talked about, you put in some change, you get a soda out, but then you can add on to that and it can grow and become much, much bigger and much more advanced. So it's kind of like training somebody. When you have somebody, let's say we'll go back to the bank, as a teller, you feel they're only trained to give back dollars, they'll only give back dollars, So you have to, code them and teach them more. So a smart contract, let's say you're putting the quarters in the machine, but also if nothing is dispensed out of the machine, the smart contract, won't be filled if there's nothing there. So you add another layer to it. You say if there's nothing to dispense, then it will be refunded so it pops back out of it. So you can see it can grow over time, and that is, like I said, the limitations are not there. What you can do with them is endless as long as you have the time and the ability to code it. As we all know, money and payments make the world go round. Within Ethereum, you have Ether. Now, Ether is used in multiple ways, and it's used for multiple reasons. Of course, it's very easy to send value back and forth to one another, or payments, because the Ether contracts that you make, you can easily put Ether within them. And to make any smart contracts and within all these decentralized applications, for them to run on the Ethereum network, you need to use up some Ether. And one of the things that they use for it is a lot of these, I guess, spam accounts, or however you want to call them. If they're trying to loop certain contracts or something to clog up the network, they have to constantly pay the prices. So you want there to be some sort of incentive for the miners to make money on it, and within the system, you don't want people to flood it with just stupid just transactions that are unnecessary. So that's that kind of economic monetary system within the Ethereum network, and it's all run by Ether. Now that you have a decent understanding of what Ethereum is, let's talk about the future. If you're in the crypto sphere as of right now and you're not just kind of diving deep into it for the first time, you already know that Ethereum, just like Bitcoin, has a lot of copiers, copycats, whatever you want to call it, people that are clones, projects that want to do the same exact thing, but will state that they are better. Some of these projects have a decent following to them, and there's a chance that I wouldn't say they're going to take over the throne from Ethereum, but they could be competition in a way. But in my opinion, every project will grow to be very, very different over time because they're all new. Every single one of them is following in the footsteps of Ethereum, though. Okay, so if Ethereum, at the end of the day, is the alpha, it is the omega of all the ones that are smart contract, decentralized application organizations. Just kind of like how Bitcoin is the first currency within the crypto sphere, and it really did that for the first part. So even though Bitcoin really had, it laid out the foundation for it, Ethereum's its kind of own core and it's its own first kind of like mover, so it has the advantage over the other ones. There's ones like, where do I even start? Neo, you have EOS, you have Cardano, a lot of the, I'll be talking forever if I name all of them, but they're all trying to do very similar things, and they separate themselves in very, some would say small ways, some say very big ways, but in my opinion, they're close to just being clones. It's kind of like when you have a new Power Rangers toy when you were a kid or something, or like a Transformers toy, and you go to the dollar store, and your mom buys you like one of them, and it's instead of calling Transformers, it's called Transformers, and instead of a car, it's like, I don't know, like a motorcycle or something, and the parts fall off. I'm not saying they're crappy, but they're trying to do something that's already kind of happening. Some of them will grow. I'm a huge proponent of Neo. Neo is kind of China's own take on Ethereum. People in China are still using Ethereum, but that's they're more centralized in an aspect. They're going to be decentralizing a little bit, more down the road, but they're making a ecosystem around themselves, just like Ethereum is. So, in my opinion, anything can happen. It is very, very early on. So what you're going to see is competition trying to rise, and as the copycats of Ethereum try and do very similar things. But Vitalik, Charles Hoskinson, and the rest of them, especially the people that are on the Ethereum Council, they're probably the smartest minds in the world when it comes to this type of project. Will people surpass them years down the road, and will there even be greater chances of furthering and advancing past this idea of Ethereum? Yeah. But I mean, when it comes to like forks, soft forks, and changes to the code, that'll happen and it'll upgrade itself over time. Right now, what Ethereum's dealing with is scalability issues. Scalability being, for instance, something called CryptoKitties came out, which is a game that was on the Ethereum network. It clogged up the entire system because all of these have a transactions per second problem. So generally right now, when you have like Visa, for example, Visa can do as many transactions per second as necessary for the amount of people that are doing transactions in the entire world where Visa is used. The problem with things like Bitcoin, Ethereum is they fill up these blocks in a certain amount of time, and only a certain amount of transactions can be on it at that time frame. So what Ethereum's doing right now is they have sharding, and they have the plasma network that they're trying to they're hitting it from different angles, but that's how they're kind of getting past those issues, and they will be alleviated over time. So you see some of these cryptos, they can only do a few transactions per second, somewhere at 10, 100, 1,000. But what eventually we're going to need to get into is the millions and probably billions later on, trillions. I mean, it's going to keep scaling from there, but it will happen over time. I'm not worried about it. We're still in the baby stages. So if you are a new investor, check it out. I'll link on this video where I buy from Coinbase when it comes to Ethereum. You can also buy Bitcoin, a few other ones. Don't ever buy Bitcoin Cash. Eventually you'll learn about Roger Ver, and it's just, you'll see, basically. But there's a lot of Ponzi schemes, scam artists, and whatever else in the crypto sphere because it's the Wild West as of right now. But, just to finish up the video, I hope you guys found this very entertaining, and hopefully you learned something from it. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, or if you just want to talk, leave a comment. Please like the video, and as always, subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a lot. So thank you everybody for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time on Devil May Crypto.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me.